All right, making flat microvoxels, such as flags, banners, whatever. Add tool. Scroll it up to size 2 and place 2 on top of each other. So this is now, oops, when I'm using a 1x1 brush, this is now 4 voxels high in total. Line tool. I'm going to switch colors so you can see. I'm going to click it at the top and then at the bottom, like that. So it's flat but completely aligned with the base of the 2 that I stacked up. Now, you only need to do it on that one side, but that should be on the north side. And I'll draw one on the south side just so you can see the difference. All right, I'm now going to pick a different color and paint the top here. You can see that this has created one single voxel, but it's actually 2 voxels high on this angle. And the reason I said do this on the north side is it does not behave 100% consistently on every side. You will notice that if I paint this the south side, oh, of course it's misbehaving. Sometimes it will not behave the same. All right, there we go. You can see on the east side anyway that I did not get the same clean 1 voxel wide line. So I find the north side works, but if you try it, you forget which direction, just try it on all sides and pick the one that looks right. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to use it in a second. Now, I'm going to stack 2 voxels high. I'll make them different colors just so we can see the difference. Oh, actually, I copied a white one, so let me make that top one red. All right. So now we've got a gray with a red stacked on top, so we can see exactly what happens when I paste this down. So I'm going to paste this angly one on one side, and look what happens. The red one and the gray one that are beside it get deformed because the most recently placed voxel always has to keep its shape, and its neighbors, which are permanently attached to it, therefore get forced out of their original shape. And then I mirror it, or I can rotate it either way and put it on the other side, and magically I have now forced that red voxel on top to be completely flat. The game thinks the gray voxel is still here even though it appears too high, and it thinks the red voxel is here even though it actually appears to be only on the surface of that voxel. So if I copy this section, even though it looks like I'm copying the gray one, I'm actually copying the red one. Now this one, as it is now, it thinks that the voxel is underneath it. So if I place that flat on the ground, it's actually going to pull the ground up to meet it. But if I flip it over, rotate, and paste it, then you'll notice that it is completely flat on the ground. So flat, in fact, I'm having trouble seeing the paste preview. And if I cut down into the ground here, just so you, oops, why did that do that? So you believe me here? Oh, I think I hit paint by mistake instead of paste. Let me heal this. All right, so copy this again. Paste, not paint. There we go. So you can see there's absolutely no depth. It's not going down into that side. It is absolutely paper thin. And I can paint this in a row. I can make a little runner, carpet, whatever. And I also find that the thatch, it's called, like what you put on a roof, that texture makes quite a nice carpet end, although it does only face in one direction, so all your carpets have to be going east-west if you want to use that as an edging. But it looks nice. And if we want to make, for example, a banner, all we do is flip that, paste it in the air like that. or we could make a really wide flag. Now these are just square, and square is the easiest shape, but you can use the line tool. You can also use the delete sphere. To cut different shapes out of it. For example, like that. Now if I grab a different color here, grab my white again, and I paint have some very, very, very hair-thin voxels on the edge there. And then I have these guys over here, which could be, wouldn't that be an interesting sort of sunburst pattern on a banner? I think it would be. We can also use the line tool. So I am using tweak mode, held down control when I pasted that. And I'm going to align it over here. Oops. Make sure I'm not going crooked here. There we go. And hitting F to toggle the delete mode. Click. And now I got a straight line through there. It's kind of a big brush, so I deleted most of it, but you can see I also got some useful shapes out of this. Now this one and this one are going to make probably nice points like this. And you can play around with all sorts of different angles of your line tool until you find the exact shape that you want. If you had your line tool at an exactly 45 degrees, you would get a pretty straight 45-degree angle, and you can do that by measuring it out with voxel blocks so that you actually place your line tool on the ones you've marked out that you've measured. Or you can eyeball it, depending how much you care. A little unevenness is not necessarily a bad thing if you want a sort of more natural looking flag, because no flag is ever in the real world completely square. It's getting blown around, and of course it's made of cloth and stuff. I'm just going to paste those square ones in there to fill that in. So here we have a nice pointy banner. Obviously it doesn't have to be 45 degrees either. I could use my line tool to cut a steeper angle. Oops. Pansy is here and helping. Thank you, cat. And I can use any shape that I've made, and remember I can paste it as a negative always. Oops. And assuming now that caused some interesting effects to happen. Let me try pasting it into the middle and see if there's a difference, because you never know. Yeah, so it did cause the ones around it to deform. That's probably just because of the exact angle. A slightly different angle might not do that. I can try playing around with the fill tool or use some putty to see what happens if I fill it. It looks like what's going to happen is I'm going to have a weird shaped voxel here up top. So if I were to paint this one, I suspect we're going to get a weird shape. Yeah. And then this one. So those are our two voxels at the top, which is why it caused that to go downwards when we pasted it. You wouldn't get that if you had it, as I say, a proper 45 degree. This is not quite 45. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a little off. At any rate, but you could always use that for doing something else. And nope, that didn't totally solve your problem because deleting them caused that to be wider than a voxel thick. But maybe we can actually just copy this and paste it on top of here. I'm going to try different things. No, then you lose your V shape. I'm going to try different things and see what happens, because you can't always guess easily. Sometimes it's just easier to try. So yeah, there we go, and obviously you can make a hanging banner too. And I think in a separate tutorial I will show you how to make curved inlaid shapes in there that are customized. But for this tutorial, it just shows you sort of simple angle shapes, flags, table runners, placemats, whatever you want to make with them, and how to do that.